Welcome back to the Let's Talk Vibes podcast, where we speak soul contracts, illuminating the path to higher understanding. This week, Yiannah and I are going to deep dive into the 19-1 with our guest, Kieth Wareing. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So, Kieth, you are an entrepreneur. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
I'm kind of between things at the moment. I spent the last like 10 years building up a large social media following in like finance and cryptocurrency, that kind of space. Um, Going down a path that wasn't particularly fulfilling. Yeah, in the last few years, kind of going through the world's most brutal spiritual awakening, it seems. Kind of transitioning to moving more into like soul contract reading and becoming an author at the moment. Just taking a bit of time out before I relaunch back onto social media again.
Yeah. And so you're newer to the soul contract work. How did you find this modality?
In that actually is an interesting question. So it was about a year ago, almost to the day. It was last June that I got the book. And something had happened to me in February of last year, and kind of like a breakthrough, for want of a better phrase. And woke up one day and I'm just experiencing just the craziest synchronicities known to man. There's things that are just far beyond coincidence. And one of the things that I just kept seeing was recurring numbers, and two sets of numbers in particular. And it was the number 33 and also the number 911. Now, let's just kind of think that, we've got the same numbers in like 19-1 as 911.
Right.
Right? But I mean, I'm seeing these like everywhere. When I mean everywhere is whenever something significant was happening, like if I was sharing a screenshot on my phone, the time of the previous message versus the time of the screenshot would correlate. 33 down the bottom, like I don't know, 333, and then 911 at the top. Then I started noticing, like walking down the street, and I'd see 33 on a car to the left of me, and I go, "I bet there's 911 on the right." But there was 911 on the right,
Oh my goodness.
and it just kept happening and happening and happening and happening to the point that, I mean, I've just got my phone is just full of screenshots that mean nothing to anybody else, but to me, I'm like, see.
100%. Oh my God.
Yeah, even to the point, right? Like, the car I was driving, like the top speed was like 330 kilometers an hour. So I had the 33, and on the steering wheel, it had a 911 on it as well. So I was like, well, it's there as well. I went to a friend's coffee shop. He's got this, he's been roasting coffee for like a decade, and he's got the first ever coffee bag he's ever bought for commercial coffee roasting, right, on his wall. And then on the left is 3533, and then on the right is 0911 again. It's like
Oh
33
my
911.
goodness.
And it's happening in real life. And I'm thinking, right, what is going on? So this is going somewhere, right? This is going somewhere. And even to the point that I even then realized, like 15 years ago, I had a car accident when I was still living in England on my 29th birthday, and the car I was driving, the number plate was K33FVV, because it looks like Keith W. It's like the closest I could get. And again, it was another 911. So I had 33 911 on my car like 15 years ago. So now I'm thinking, holy, these numbers been following me my whole life. And so bearing in mind, this was February last year. And then I'm kind of getting sucked into like the TikTok algorithm in my spare time whilst all this is going on, and all the other sorts of crazy stuff's going on, and like everybody around me thinks Keith's lost his mind. And because there's things like just unbelievable synchronicities were going along, were happening, and just people just couldn't believe it. And then I see this one video recommending Your Soul Contract Decoded. I didn't even really watch the video. I was just kind of going through this kind of period of reading not even reading, buying books. I'm not a big reader, right?
Right.
I don't really read that much. I've read 2 books, full books in my life, right? One was John Grisham's The Chamber, which I read whilst I was running a safari lodge in Namibia like 25 years ago. And that's a messed up story how that happened. Um, and then the other book was Becoming Supernatural by Joe Dispenza, which absolutely transformed my life. I went from this massive, like huge, like nearly 200 kilo guy to what I am now within like 6 months. And I was just like mind blown. So I just started buying a lot of these books.
Mm-hmm.
So things like Greg Braden's Divine Matrix, things about just all sorts. And anyway, Your Soul Contract Decoded, I took it on holiday with me last June, and I'm on holiday with some friends. And I said, "Oh, I should do your soul contract. I've got this book." And I hadn't even checked my numbers out yet. And then lo and behold, I generate my birth chart, and then I've got the 19-1. I'm thinking, well, that's 9/11's right there,
Mm-hmm.
albeit in a different order. And then as my spiritual karma. And then in my physical talents, I've got 33. And
Yes, 3-3.
I'm like, what's going on? And it was at that moment where I was like, well, I don't really know why this is happening, but what are the chances of that happening? And then after that, I was just hooked. So I was like, right, okay, there's something in this. There's something in this, and something was kind of like nudging me to say, hey, stop doing all that stuff you're doing because it's not fulfilling you. Do something else. And that's how I came into the world of the soul contracts, and that's why I thought, I'll do some training on it, because there's a lot of stuff happening in my life, and I wanted to know a little bit more. Particularly, I've done the level 1 so far training. I'm interested in the level 2 because I want to learn about family dynamics. Because I'm already kind of getting a feel for it. And in fact, the 19-1 that we're discussing today, it is linked to my ex-partner, who she also has it in her chart. And I believe that her purpose was to trigger my spiritual karma, because she's got it as a physical talent. So there's, I see the interconnectedness of it all. I was at the risk of sounding like a complete lunatic when I speak to all of my friends, where I just start talking numbers and pointing everything. Oh, no, number.
Well, you don't sound like a lunatic to us.
No.
Oh, and it's crazy, right? So the friends that I was on holiday with last year, right, at this campsite where I was doing the soul contract readings, I've actually got her birth chart behind me, just by coincidence. So like the friends I was with, we're motorhome people, right? So they were borrowing one of our camper vans. I had a motorhome at the time. They've just bought a motorhome last week, a big brand new Hypermobile, right? And the number plate is 0774, and her birth chart 7777. And I just thought to myself, oh, and there's a 4 in the soul destiny as well. But and her partner, he's also double karmic 7s as well, and it's on their camper van, and it's like, I see it.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and I don't really know what it all means yet, but it's certainly opens your mind up a little bit.
Well, here's what's really interesting. Okay, so this, tell me again, which goal is it? Is it physical goal or spiritual goal for you?
Spiritual karma.
Oh, and your spiritual karma. Yes, I knew that. Thank you. This refreshes my memory a lot. But what's interesting is this 19-1 is all about, right? It's like someone who's able to hold space, right? But in physical reality, it is very much people who have this drive to actually have a physical space where they provide, healing services and spiritual services, that, yoga studios, retreat centers, all of that. I'm getting to a point. Hold on. I know you want to say something, and I'm going to let you. But
itching.
Actually, your story, because I know it and we're going to talk about it, but your story, what's interesting is you were in your previous line of work, you were very much in the 3D world. Okay. And it was all about fast cars and money and homes and all that type of 3D abundance. And what happened was there was an event in your life that kind of like brought you to like a screeching halt and dove you back into what is like your spiritual direction, if you will, right? It's like you were just past that 35 to 42 years old, which we know is like that awakening, that like, okay, it's time to connect deeper to source and what is the purpose of life and what is my purpose and all of that. And it seems like you were getting past that mark without having that awakening. And then it came and it hit you. And what you're reminding me of is Terrence Howard, who was on Joe Rogan, and he was talking about how, you know, he was an actor and some shit went down for him. And at that time, he thought it was a curse and it was like the worst thing to happen to him. But what it really did was it was a blessing because it redirected him to what his true purpose in life was. Right. And it's almost like for you, I see that similarity where you were on this track over here. And it was like, nope, you got to come back to where you're meant to be. But also having that spiritual karma, having the 19-1 in your spiritual karma is somebody who has obstacles trying to open up this center, trying to open up this brick and mortar. So tell us how that has shown up for you.
Yeah. So now, first of all, before I say that, I just want to say, like, I had this is the second time that I've lost everything, right? The first time was at the end of my first marriage where I crashed the first 33 911. So it's almost like at the end of every like marriage, because I'm on marriage number 2 now. Third time's a charm. It's almost like something's going, yeah, kind of do this. And anyway, so one of the things, one of the major things as well that piqued my interest, and with the book, other than just 33 and 9/11, like synchronicity going on, was the fact that my soon-to-be ex-wife had the 19-1 as her physical talents. And after I had kind of read Becoming Supernatural and just got big on meditation and just like literally transformed into a completely different person. And when I say complete, I mean, it still baffles me. You wouldn't believe the difference. You just would not believe the guy that I used to be. Like what I don't even look like the guy anymore. I have the same voice, but I hear all of you going, oh my God. No. But yeah, I just unrecognizable. And this all happened within 6 months. So I had this totally renewed sense of a sense of purpose. And at the time we were living in this, my main house is like this homestead on a 1 acre plot. And next door, there's another 2 acres for sale. And there'd been, the neighbors were absent neighbors for the 7 years that I'd lived there. And one day, you know, I just put it into my manifestations for my meditations. It's like they're going to come and we're going to get it for 140K. And bearing in mind, that's like unheard of in this area. Like in the area we're in, just like 300K plus. And yeah, like one day they just come knocking on the door going, yeah, we want to sell to you. They were happy with 140K. And we were then going to buy this. So they had a 2-bed cottage and like a number of outbuildings, and we just had this idea for some sort of spiritual retreat. And we got this local yoga teacher called Karen, lovely lady, and she was coming twice a week to kind of teach us yoga, so we could kind of get into the flow of things, so that we knew what we could offer people. Part of my journey in life is I've been to rehabs over the years, and they're great. You're away from the wife, you're away from the kids, there's a pool, you get to do yoga, tai chi, they're amazing. But yeah, like I really, apart from the circumstances that landed me in these places, I always come out of them feeling totally energized, but also just a little depressed over kind of, you know, the way they kind of hammer you and stuff. And they get you into a 12-step program, and a lot of the time they talk about prayer, and they gloss over meditation, you know. And I just kind of, I had this vision in my head of, you know, all these things that we could do, and then loads of things started clicking into place. Like I was on this mad like manifestation journey. I went from kind of winding down my YouTube channel to becoming like an amateur race car driver, competing in like tournaments in the south of Spain. And my wife manifested a horse, which ended up being the end of our marriage. But that's another story, not suitable for the internet. And but when she got the horse, we were thinking, well, we could do equine therapy, because this is something that I did in one of the rehabs I went to. And I'm there, and I'm kind of trying to really like piece together, thinking I want to offer something to people, but I don't just want to be reading someone else's book. It's quite funny when you think about it. I wanted a healing retreat, and the universe basically said, you want to tell people about healing, do you? Well, we're going to change some things in your life. So here I am, currently not allowed to go to my house because of all manner of just carnage is just exploded in my life. So the person I was married to just turned on me, like that, like I'm in a parallel dimension all of a sudden. She had me sent to jail, restraining orders. 7 months later, I still haven't had the constitutional right to be heard, to even just say she's lying. So everything's just kind of like all up in the air. But like, I wanted to set up a healing retreat. I had no idea what to talk about, and now here I am, kind of separated from my family, my children. Everything's been stripped away from me. Well, Book of Job stuff,
Yes.
Like just it brings you to your knees. But it's and the crazy thing, the absolute crazy thing is, I had even been saying for about because everyone locally thinks I'm a nutter now. Because they're like, he sold his Porsche and he's living in a van. He's gone mad. And, but I was, weird things were happening. And I was saying to people, I'm getting Book of Job. I don't know, get Book of Job. And this was like 2 years ago. But even the crazy thing is like, they even changed. Sorry, I know I must sound like a lunatic, but it's not often I get to talk about this. That there was the motorway junction, or where I live, it used to be number 274 or something like that. They changed it to 933.
Right, I knew one of these numbers was coming in there.
You can look it up on Google Maps. Look up Nerja, Nerja in the south of Spain, and the fucking junction is now 933. It never used to be. But I was speaking to a friend of mine, and he follows this guy on TikTok called Morpheus, this guy Jonah, who talks about everything being a simulation. And his handle is Morpheus733. And my friend Will and I started to talk about these things, and we're like, oh, I wonder if the number before the 33 is related to the 12 tribes of Israel. I don't know how this came about. And it just turned out that the 9th tribe of Israel, like 933, is like Ishtar or Issachar or something like that, which is the tribe that Job was part of. So I had all these but I didn't expect my life to turn into the Book of Job. Do you know what I mean? But it does. It appears to be like that kind of. That seems to be what's happening, having everything taken away from me and then moved into this other direction. But it's wonderful. I mean, you kind of just have to trust it and go with it, right?
Well, and that's the thing, right? The Book of Job, that's him about the fact that he never lost faith and he never wavered, even when everything was taken away from him, even when he went through his own illnesses and he was just bare bones. It was all about, he never once wavered in his faith. And in the end, I mean, and it sounds shitty, right? Because he lost his family, his children, like he lost, who cares about material things, but he lost like really serious stuff. But in the end, God rewarded him for his faith. And it was all about this huge testament to faith. And for you, that is very real for you in your, and I know I know more in-depth information about your situation. And I'm just like, the fact that you have kept your faith this long is absolutely beautiful and something to be admired. Do you have any 4s in your chart?
I've got 22-4 in physical goals, but I don't have 4-4. But
it doesn't matter. You got that 4 frequency in there. So, and that 22-4, right? That like major wealth, that generational wealth, all that money. Where is it in your
physical goals?
Oh, in your physical goals. Okay. So it's funny. I know we're getting off of this 19-1, but your faith is all about that 22-4, the 4 aspect of it. And it's like big waves of money up and money down and money up and money down. And a lot of it has to do with your self-worth, which is part of that 4 frequency. But anyway, I'm totally digressing.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah.
Circle back.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's interesting that you say about the self-worth, because in the 19.1, one of the things that jumps out to me about that energy is the self-judgment, the element of it, and that's something that I despite knowing that I have achieved many, many things and always done right by people, I seem to always judge myself because I tend to be like overly generous, right? And that never comes back. And when I say generous, I'm ridiculously generous. Like a couple of years ago, in the last cryptocurrency bull run, money was pretty abundant. So people were like, "Oh, Kieth, can you lend me 50 grand for this business?" Like, yeah, no worries. "Oh, Kieth, can you lend me 20 grand for this?" Yeah, no worries. I'm thinking, this is brilliant. I'm putting all this money into all these other businesses, and then when I fall on my ass, I'm like, how are those businesses going? They're like, "Oh no, they didn't work out, man." And then that's it. It's like, okay. So then I judge myself, thinking, well, you know, so yeah, so I definitely, I definitely relate to that, and the clown energies for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
let's talk about that.
Right. So laughter is a big part of this 19 frequency, right? So it's almost like I almost see it like in the sense where like it's about learning to just laugh at yourself, to laugh at the world, not like taking things seriously. But I wonder what I've noticed is a lot of people with this 19.1, they will use that humor to kind of put up not a facade, but like to take away from how they're truly feeling inside. Does that resonate at all, Keith?
Yeah, 100%. I already know what I'm going to say. So, I mean, I'm just going to try and show you what I used to look like, because it's relevant to what I'm about to say. I don't know if this will show up on the camera very well, but like,
Wow.
yeah. Right. So you notice the boobs, right? Okay. So I don't have those anymore. I got pecs now, right? But I had those from the age of 13, right? They just one summer holiday between primary school and high school, I discovered how to make a really nice cake in the microwave. I was making them every day. And I went back to school with like, none of the girls had matured, but I had, it was like, oh, that's what I was expecting. And I had a huge self-confidence thing about this, and I was getting a lot of stick off of my friends, a lot of flack, and I mean, a lot of it was like deeply, deeply hurtful. So my instant kind of reaction was just to take those insults and all of that and just kind of turn it into a self-deprecating humor about myself. And yeah, so from a very early age, just as soon as I hit my teens, I started laughing at myself, and then I thought that was okay, and then I would like start making jokes about other people as well, which was inappropriate jokes, but in a way that, a phrase that I've heard many, many times is, if anybody else said what you've just said, Keith, we'd be offended, but for some reason they're not when I do it. And which is strange. It's really, really strange. Evidently, my ex-wife maybe will disagree, but yeah, no. So I've always had to use like laughter and humor just to kind of deflect from that stuff that I'm burying deep down. And it's, I mean, without trying to sound like soppy and sad, it's kind of stuff like, well, why was I different in growing up? Why was I given this challenge growing up, so I wouldn't say I was a victim about it. But I certainly never spoke about it, at all to anybody. And I suppose, when you kind of do eventually get triggered into healing, then, these things kind of, they're there, under the surface, and you peel one layer back, and then you're like, for fuck's sake, that's there now. And it just keeps coming. But yeah, no, laughter is definitely a huge part of it. And actually, like my old YouTube channel, on in crypto. I was kind of the clown of the crypto space, kind of early doors, 2020, 2016, 2017, where there wasn't many people talking about Bitcoin. Everyone was just so serious about it. And I just found that hilarious. And I was just taking the piss, and I gained a little bit of a cult following. But as a result, no one ever really took me seriously. So I never got any like serious sponsorships. I mean, I still did really well out of it. But like, I've got this one friend, Chris, and when I met him, he had like 500 followers, but he was very, very serious. This German guy. Now he's got one of the biggest channels in the industry. He lives in a $25 million mansion in Dubai, and I'm thinking, how did you do that? And he didn't have the clown energy that I had. So so it definitely the clown energies of the 19-1 definitely kind of they can add but also hinder into one's life. That's for sure.
For me, someone I always really thought about when I would like hear about the 19-1 and that laughter is like I would always think about Robin Williams. And so when I looked up his chart, he doesn't have it in his birth name. He's so interesting. He has 5 10 ones in his birth name. And they're like all in a row. The entire physical triangle is 10 ones, and then spiritual karma and talents as well, like 5 in a row. It's wild. Wow. But then in his common use name in Robin Williams, he does have that 19-1 as his spiritual goals. And I just think for people who are trying to kind of think about that energy, I think he's such a great example, because even before I had looked at the chart, he was sort of the person I was like, I feel like he will have this. He seemed to embody that. He is that person who just sort of embodies that laughter.
Yeah.
And another one, which is not an actual person, is a character. You always seen Brooklyn Nine-Nine TV show? So Rosa Diaz, like I also thought of her. I was like, she needs to learn to laugh because she's so serious. And sure enough, when I looked up that character's chart, she has a 19-1.
19-1.
So.
That's amazing.
That's interesting about Robin Williams, actually, though, because isn't 10-1? Isn't that also like father issues? Yeah, like father wound. Yeah. That must have been pretty brutal,
Yeah. I'm like, I gotta read his biography or something, because now that I know his chart, I want to like hear more of his life story and be like, where do these themes show up in his life?
I got to admit, I do like doing that. It's quite interesting. I did Michael Jackson and a few others because I was just getting really nosy, because I find these readings, it's like you get information that you feel that you shouldn't have. Just have to tick that consent box. Yeah, I've got consent.
Well, they're deceased. It's okay.
Right. And the thing is too, like, it really helps you get a bigger understanding of like why people do what they do or how things play out. We all have this mission, and yes, there's free will involved, but I truly believe that like the main things that are meant to play out are going to play out some way or another, right? Like for you, for example, you were like a spiritual 2x4 hit you to redirect you, and it's like, that was me too. I was very much in the 3D world, and I had to like switch gears, where I went through a dark night of the soul, which is, what many of us go through when it's like this huge thing where we got to course correct, but you guys, I totally lost my train of thought. What did I start talking about before course correcting?
You said how like you're anchored into the 3D world, and then the
how it plays
out playing out. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it is interesting to see, because there is this form of compassion, and I will say this, like even in my everyday life, like I realize for me too, like when you see people acting a certain way, or even like the humor, right? I always think like they're so funny and like this great character, but also just like me and everybody, what are you hiding? What are you trying to like suppress? Like, what is it that pains you so much that I have somebody in my life who's very close to me now? I don't know his chart because I haven't had permission. I haven't asked, but I could almost bet my life there's this beautiful 19-1 somewhere, because even when he uses his humor, all I feel is just this heavy sadness. And I just want to be like, I need to give you a hug. I want to hug it away for you, but it's like we use humor to sugarcoat what we're going through, and especially with that 1 too, right? There is that disempowerment, there is that masculine factor, and. It can be tough. It can be tough.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest issues going through life with this program of the 19-1 like running in the background, it's very difficult to, um, it's very difficult. What's the best word? To be vulnerable, in anything, because there's such fragility, kind of just at, waiting to be exposed, and not what not knowing whether that's going to be accepted. And it's funny because the two times that the numbers have started appearing in my life was both at the end of running towards the end of a marriage. The circumstances were almost identical. They were almost identical, even down to the car I was driving. It was very, very strange. It was almost like I'm stuck in this like circuit board, and I'm going around a part of the circuit board, and it's like, right, okay, go there, and then you're going to fork off to this bit because this is your spiritual path, or you're going to go around and you're going to Groundhog Day it. And it's almost as if I want it, when I'm looking back now with kind of new eyes on my past. It's almost like that, not wanting to do the work because thinking it's easier to pretend still in life than it is to do the work, and to really like look at what is it that is, that you find so hard to accept a compliment, or because that's a big thing. I don't know if that comes from a 19-1 or from another part of my chart, but I cannot accept a compliment for love nor money.
I feel like it's British culture.
Maybe. But yeah, because it's almost like, well, why is somebody paying me a compliment? It's like, what have I done to deserve that? And I don't know whether that's the 19-1, whether that's the I don't know where it comes from. That self-judgment of which is definitely the 19-1 energy. But yeah, it's
before, like the feeling unworthy, and
100%.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I feel like it could be there.
Which is interesting, because that is an excellent point. Why is it so hard to accept a compliment? Some people take it and they run for it and they're like, I know, and whatever. But it's like, it is. I too share that, where I'm like, if somebody says something, I'm like, oh, like, no, or you just can't. Then people will say, just accept it. And it's funny because I'm like, I tell people the same thing when I'm trying, and what you're doing is you're taking away somebody else's gift of being able to offer you something beautiful, right? So that is interesting. I too thought that has to do with that self-worth. Maybe it's an 8 or a 3 frequency. It could be your 3 too. But that's self-worth for sure, because why shouldn't you feel worthy enough to accept something beautiful that someone is telling you without feeling any sort of way about it? And but also because of these judgmental self-judgment frequencies between the 19 and the 1, where it's like someone says, oh, Kieth, like your personality's so great. And then in your mind, you're like, oh my God, I feel like I have a shit personality, and I am my own worst critic, and I am this. So it's like you yourself judge that you are not good enough for that thing. So there's so many numbers where that factors in.
It's really funny that you just say that, because you just reminded me that I've been away in my camper van for about a week or so. I'm actually camping at the moment. I actually had to drive from Marbella an hour and a half down the road. I'm like, I've got a podcast at 10 o'clock. And then I get home and I'm thinking, I haven't had a message. I haven't had an email. Have I got the right day? But no, I'm with these people that I've never met before last week. It's a German and Czech couple, lovely couple. And they were like, we were sitting around the table and they're like, oh, Kieth, you're really funny. And then they put me on this like on the spotlight. They're like, got to the point where it's like, oh, say something funny, keep being funny. And I'm just sitting there just thinking, trying to think of all the dad jokes, but yeah, it instantly, as soon as that compliment was thrown my way, it was just like, red face. Yeah, I think we're in a society though, aren't we, where people aren't used to talking about stuff like this. I mean, this is the problem, right? Like it's a huge, huge problem. I mean, luckily I've got a circle of friends now where we talk about shit like this, but sorry, excuse me, stuff like this. But
you can say shit.
Yeah, okay, cool. but yeah, so you know, I'm 44. So there's the fours. You know, and I would say that the majority of my adult life, I've spent it pretending I'm somebody I'm not. You know, like definitely pub culture in England for a start. You know, that's just literally people waiting to tell what their story of how bad their life is. There's no connection. There's nothing. And I just wish more people would just kind of snap out of it. And when you say, hey, how are you? That they actually tell you the truth.
Right.
Instead of, you know.
You feel like that's where you're at?
Yeah. Yeah. I feel that's kind of what I want to help people with, but then I also don't want to come across cocky and arrogant that I might have an answer to something that could help someone. So then that self-judgment comes in.
Well, it's interesting because you said you're 34, which is your 7 year, right? And that 7 frequency we know is all about coming into your authenticity.
I'm 44.
Like,
but thank you for thinking I was 34.
What you just said 34 about something. Didn't you say you were did you say when you were 34?
I think it's just because I look so youthful that you probably thought he must have said 34.
And you're in your 8th year, okay? It is that clarity, right? But here's the thing, though. You touched on something really important where you said, like, if I have some information where, like, I feel like it could help somebody, right? That kind of thing. And that's very much that 19 frequency. They want to, especially in like, it's part of their talent, their gift, where like they just want to help other people achieve their own spiritual goals and achieve success in their life. And it's like very much like, how can I help you achieve that? Which is also very much like this holding space for other people. I want to support you. How can I support you? So that is so innate in you. But yeah, it is. We do live in a society where people will judge it and people will say, well, who do you think you are? But I don't think that's something that should stop you, because I do think we're also in a place and coming to a place where more people are seeking spirituality stuff. More people are seeking deeper connection and deeper understanding to the world and our spirit world and source and all of that. And it's such a beautiful gift to have.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I got a bit of a knockback, you know, because like last year before I deleted all my old social media, I thought, being me, that it would be a good idea to start talking spirituality to a load of people that are obsessed with greed and money, right? And I got hell, you know, I got hell from people just saying, oh, you've gone all vegan and stupid and all this sort of stuff. And just, I don't even know where the vegan thing came from. But just all this barrage of like negative comments. I'm thinking, oh, okay, you know, maybe I don't speak about this stuff, which is why now I'm kind of in this period where I've secured my social media handles of my old number plate K33FEV on every social media platform. I've locked all of those down. I've started writing the book. I'm doing getting my website built. I still don't know what I'm doing. I still don't know what I'm doing. I know I know I'm going to factor in soul contract readings into it, but I still don't know. But I feel it in me to so much that, you know, like I've had I don't know. I mean, when I had my first spiritual awakening kind of 4 years ago, I thought that was it. I didn't realize they keep coming and they just get harder and harder. And I mean, I suppose when I've got to a certain point, then I'll feel like I've got something to offer. But again, that's it. I want to set up some sort of center. I know that I've got that. I see it when I shut my eyes. I see it, and I see that I'm there, and I see that I'm helping people, and I still don't quite know what I'm going to do. And I know you say about holding space, but it's just like I see got the A to B, and I'm like that space in between. It's like, well, what do I do with that space in between right now? And that's kind of where
you know what? You need to work with someone who has a 19-1, because we talk about holding space, but the other part of it is that it can be that you're holding space. So the part we've talked about is like that physical space, right? That retreat center, but it's also holding space for someone to reach their goals. And that's exactly what you need. You need to be working with that person who's going to help you reach your goal.
That's the thing. I thought I was, because my wife had 19-1 in her physical talents. And I'm thinking, right, this is just meant to be. The stars have aligned. Everything's perfect.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Keith. You don't know what the future holds. And as somebody who has gone through a divorce, and it was very tough going through it, we are now in a position where we are such good co-parents and we work so well together. Never in my wildest dreams would I have imagined that it would have turned out this way. So to that point, you never know what the future holds, and you never know, you could very well get to that same place. Even through all the shit that you guys are going through now and have been recently, you could still get to that really beautiful place where you can create something like that together. I mean, you have a shared property already together. You know what I mean? So don't block it out.
No, well, I don't. Despite how aggressive it all is, you know, actually, one of the reasons I wanted to do the level 1 soul contract reading course is because I want to learn more about both of our charts, and I see something in her chart that I know I know what her path is. Whether I'm part of it, I don't know, but I know I can see what her karma is and how she can change that into a talent. And if she changes that, because she's karmic sevens all over, you know, and if she can just change that to becoming more of a counselor as opposed to a victim, you know, it would just be wonderful. And, you know, I did see in my head, because essentially it's 2 houses next door to each other on this massive 3.5 acre plot. You know, I saw in my head that we do still have the retreat together, and but we talk about the 2 different journeys. And that would be wonderful. That would be great. But right now, I'm just a bit worried she's going to kill me. So there is that.
I can't. I want to ask you a little sidetrack question. Are there any 5s in your chart?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, there are. Yeah. It's at the top. So it is. Oh, no, it's not the top. Where's mine? Oh, wait, no. Spiritual talents is my 5s. 5.
Spiritual talents. Okay.
And physical karma is 14.5. But yeah.
Physical. Okay, good. So part of that 5 frequency, which I love the 5 frequency. It is my soul destiny. That's not why I love it. I love it because as like much as it's downplayed as an energy, I think it's fantastic. But a lot of that 5 frequency is what you just said, where you're like, I don't know, like what my next move is or what the purpose is or how to get there. The 5s, it's like their purpose is like hidden. And like, as somebody with that frequency, you're like, what the heck? Really? Like, can't I just know? Can't I just have this clear vision? And people will say to me, they're like, well, what is your end goal? I'm like, I have no idea. I have no idea. I know it's something, there's something else coming. Couldn't tell you what it is. What I know is it's just going to hit me. And then it's almost like spirit goes, redirect. And I'm like, okay, I guess I have to redirect. But it's part of that not knowing. You just have to keep searching. And that 14.5, you're always searching for who you are. Who am I?
Yeah.
Who am I? Like, that's like your life's statement, if you will, which can also be very tough, but it'll come to you and it will absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, given the kind of like the life circumstances at the moment, I have been totally left with like, you know, the whole who am I thing. And it's ridiculous, you know, because like it's from the outside looking in, everyone thinks I got my shit together. You know, dare I say, lots of people would even look up to me. And like now I'm just like, well, you know, that was all bullshit. So, and by that, I mean, you know, just generally doing what people expect of you in society. Dare I say, I even mastered it to a certain point. You know, I got to a point where I'd never have to work again. A little bit of a penchant for gambling with crypto, so it just didn't last. But still, you know, it was like, even when there was lots of zeros on a screen, it didn't change anything at all. You know, it just left me with lots of, well, anticipation of parcels from Amazon, but also it left me with just this empty feeling of just like, well, if I just committed, you know, what I would consider to be my entire life to doing what I always thought was what was expected of people, and then you kind of get to it, and you're like, oh, that was a waste of time. Not a waste of time. I guess it's all valuable experience. But yeah, like definitely right now, I have no clue who I am, what I want to do. I know it's vague steps of just copying what I used to do in the past. But even things like monetizing, I quite the marketer. And I had a big operation here in Spain, like 40 staff working under me, making huge volumes of cash. And the way that it was done, it's always like sneaky marketing. It's like, oh, buy this $20 product, and then that'll get you interested in that, and that will get you interested in this. This will get you interested in a phone call from one of my guys that will then ask you for 20K, and then we'll never answer the phone. No, it was like, but it's just a typical business, It was just because this is what, I got jobs working in like recruitment, and that was how we used to do it. We get people in on temporary contracts, and then we'd say, oh, let's get you some permanent staff. And then we just arrange an interview and charge 50K. And, that was considered to be business. But so I've got all these kind of, dare I say, skills. And now I look at them and I just think, it's just shit. That's robbing people. That's like, that doesn't add any value. That doesn't. And then comes the question, where does the value come? And it's got to be in just helping people understand a little bit more about themselves, right? And it's like, well, and then how do you do that? How do you do that? I mean, I think the soul contract readings definitely help. I mean, I love the reaction from people when I do one. Like this guy Darren, a friend of mine, visiting a couple of weeks ago. And his jaw just dropped open as I did his. It was like, how do you know that? And, it was wonderful. It was great. And I don't really know how that's impacted his life. He's gone back to England now. I don't really speak to him, like not in regular contact. So I don't know. Has this had a positive impact? Is that what I'm supposed to do? I don't know. It's a funny thing. But if you tell me that's the 5-5 thing, that's great. Because I've got a few friends that have got fives in their chart as well. That'll explain whilst we're all just driving around in motorhomes around Spain going, I don't know what to do.
Well, with the 19-1 as well, because it's about, it's about holding space. It's about spirit manifesting and kind of spirit manifesting into, physical form. And to think about the fact that that's in your karma, so it's a challenge. I think what you're seeing now is that difficulty in getting this dream to manifest, where it's like right? That one energy is that strong manifestation energy. You were able to manifest this very financially abundant life. Then you become disillusioned because you're like, oh, actually, when I touch into this spiritual side of things, this really doesn't mean anything. And now you're kind of getting into that challenge where you're like, the manifestation has always been easy, but all of a sudden now it's hard, right? It's like now I'm actually don't know how to create this dream and get it to take form. So it's kind of interesting how that's playing out for you right now. It's very apt, I should say, right?
Yeah, no, but you've actually hit the nail on the head because like to manifest a bunch of cars on a driveway, that was easy. To manifest something meaningful, I was like, whoa, okay, well now you've really got me, And like you say, it's about that bringing that energies down right into the box from above.
Yeah,
it's like, okay, well if I can bring anything down and manifest it, well then it's gloves are off. Try and really think now. How do you leave your mark on someone in a really positive way? And yeah, I mean, it's certainly a big challenge, but I guess that's why the program, that energy just kind of puts you in these situations, I guess, and these learning experiences. But it's a little frustrating, but I just have to laugh at it, I suppose. And just it's not that important anyway. It's just the universe. It's fine. Just I'll get it in the next life. But it's yeah. One thing's for certain. I know that if I was to ignore it, the same thing would happen, and then it'll probably be even harder. Because what I'm noticing is when I get the kind of clip around the head to say, okay, redirect. If I'd done it after my first marriage dissolved, it probably would have been a lot easier. Versus now where it's complicated because there's 3 kids involved and a whole lot of really unnecessary stuff, which is more of a reflection of actually what the other person's going through right now. So I need to try and not take that personally. And it's like, well, I feel that I suppose I have to do it now. If I was to ignore it, I mean, it would probably be even harder. It's almost like the more I try and avoid it, the more obstacles get put in the way of it. And then, I mean, you can't make this shit up. It's like literally says that in the book and in all the literature. It's like, yeah, spiritual center, but you're going to manifest some difficulties. It's like, yeah. It's like, how is that even possible? And, the worst part is I read that part, before any of the difficulties started. I just got all excited about, spiritual center, I'm doing that. I kind of glossed over, wait a minute, the small print of the difficulties. What does that mean?
Right.
And then now, 12 months later, there's just, the landscape's very, very different in my life. So.
And the beauty of that is we know that whatever frequencies sit in your karma, you're not meant to be stuck in that obstacle and that challenge the rest of your life. That's not like a thing you're always going to be repeating. It's about learning to to heal and tap into the positive frequencies, positive aspects of that frequency, and overcoming it being your biggest gift, and listen, you're a man of determination. You're a doer. That one, right? It's that achiever. The 19 is also a huge achiever. It's achiever energy. So I don't see any reason why one day we all won't be at your at your actual healing retreat. We better get invited, okay?
Yeah. When I work out what it's gonna be. Yeah, that's the crazy thing. It's like, but I don't know. It might sound mad to most of my 3D friends when I say, no, I want to do this. They go, well, what are you going to do exactly? So, well, I don't know. I mean, I've even started building it. Like we illegally knocked down the house next door to quickly rebuild a slightly larger square footprint. And we have all the zones kind of like mapped out, and it's just like, it's all there. And then here's a funny thing. I've got this friend and he's got a property, and it's a storage business, right? And this is weird, right? This is really, really strange. But I had a dream about his property. He's actually selling it. He's like 70 years of age. He's got it's an allotment and storage place. So the fact that he rents out storage, he meets a lot of people who have just lost their house, relationship finished, they need to store some things. And then he seems to be like the uncle kind of person that everyone talks to and shares all their problems with. And it's made me like look at this kind of spiritual center in a very, very different light, because it's like, well, do you preach to the converted at a spiritual center where everyone's there like doing yoga and meditating and stuff, a bit, the stuff that we're supposed to do just at home, or do you start taking your light to a normal place, where people are coming and going for other reasons, and they just, you have these interactions under different circumstances. And it's really made me think differently about how is this center going to work? Is it just going to be something that is quite innocuous and normal? But it's position, it's genius what he does, like everyone that rent storage off of him is either their relationship's finished, a relative's died, they have to move back to England, or move back to their home country, so they need to source some stuff. So they've got some sort of crisis going on in their life because they've got to store their stuff. And it was the first time that I've ever actually thought, well, maybe this is more practical. It helps. Then I don't have to rack my brains about it. And then you're talking to people, and then maybe just kind of casually saying, hey, if you thought about getting a soul contract reading done, I happen to do them, I'll give you a 5% discount on the storage if you take one today. That's the marketing side of me still in it.
You can't help yourself.
But yeah, so I'm looking at it kind of in that perspective now, because it's like, well, maybe, I don't know, I'm trying to keep my options open, because I don't know if my original plan is ever going to come back to me, because it's that totally up in the air.
Well,
so it's interesting.
It's kind of that both, right? Where it's maybe the sense of, this seems to be on hold. There are things that are going on that's making this not manifest right now. What can I do in this moment? And actually, as you talk about these clients, with the storage, it makes me think about divine healing, right? Because that's where I think about for those people who are really in crisis. So maybe that's the next thing that you think about doing, is being like, okay, let me learn this modality that could really help them in this moment of crisis to alleviate some of that, because that's, I mean, there's so much in the divine healing that can help when people are having those types of life stress moments. We literally have a chart called life stress. um, and trauma release and things like that. And so it's like, it's again, it's those relationships. And, you know, I totally get you in terms of like, what do you want this sort of retreat to look like? I've had my own like dreams of sort of retreat center, and I kind of always think of it as being more of like an art. It's like, this is where you come if you have writer's block, creative block, and like being around all these people, it can help to unlock that. But then also part of it is that then like, so you have people who are maybe there for 3 months, or then you have like the week-long retreats, but then there's also like people can come in just for a one-off appointment when they're local to the community. And so it's about those things that are multi-layered, you know? And so maybe there's this part of it that you know is going to happen, right? I think you do know it's going to happen, but you just don't know when. And it's seeming like now is not the right time. So it's just about figuring out what is right for right now.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the big one, right? Especially when you're like in the thick of healing yourself, you know. I mean, I tried to get myself to Bali last year to some trauma release retreats, because I'd seen this guy online. I think they called him the Miracle Man. And you pay him like 150,000 Indonesian rupee, which I think is like, I don't know, $100. And it's just getting people in, like, bending them over into this contorted position to release some of the worst trauma that they've got. And you see these people just howling like they're really not having much fun. And then when they're finished, they go, oh, wow, that was brilliant. And I thought, yeah, I want a bit of that. I want to learn a bit about that. But I mean, I've been trying kind of everything over the last kind of sort of 4 years since my first major breakthrough. Plant medicines were the first thing that I was really fascinated by. But I guess, that was, they're not really legal in most places, or they're kind of not understood in most places. So that's not really something you can kind of just, build a 8-bedroom villa and go, yeah, come take some psychedelics at my house. It's like, that's not work. But I mean, I personally found that sort of stuff profound. I mean, I learned more in a 15-minute healing session with DMT than I have in my entire life. Like literally was just showing the entire universe, whatever the hell that thing is behind me, was shown to me. I keep getting shown to me. I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, it's pretty wonderful. And I went down this kind of this route where I really wanted to show people that, but then I kind of was learning more about shamanism, and I didn't know this until quite recently that, back in the day and in the rainforest, that like shamans, they didn't even give ayahuasca and stuff to people. The shaman would take it with the person sat in their biofield, and then they would deliver their healing that way. And I really thought, oh, maybe that's my path. And then, with current circumstances going on in my life and certain things that my wife's doing with it, telling the police, is making that very difficult. It's funny. It's just like, there's all these like, it's like being in a maze where sometimes the walls move and just really slap you in the face, a bit like you're standing on a broom, just like, no, that way. Yeah, it's, who knows, eh? Who knows? But it's certainly, I like that idea of that kind of, like an art healing center, which I understand what you mean. I feel that. I can't express in words what I want to do either, but that's, it's kind of like doing something for the love of wanting to do it and to help people, it's, yeah. It's miles away from what I was doing in life as well. So that's the real big change as well.
I think the biggest thing that we learn, right, is like the hardest thing is to get started. And it's like, you can always evolve, and like where you end up is not where you start, like as you've seen already in your life. So it's like, maybe the thing is just to kind of find maybe like a breathwork practitioner. I think that's such a great sort of releasing of trauma modality, and have them bring them in, and you're just hosting it, right? You're hosting it. You don't have to lead it yet. but you kind of create that space and you kind of know the marketing side and you kind of play your role. And then you just kind of bring them in and you can help to, again, for someone who's wanting to lead that, but they don't have the means to kind of set it all up, be like, I'm going to help you with that. I'm going to help you to hold this space. Come here. Yeah, you don't have to pay me yet. You know what I mean? When you get whatever that looks like. I'm not trying to tell you to build your business on hosting things for free, but I just mean to get you started.
No. But that's the thing. Like, so like last year, I was doing quite a lot of plant medicine healings with people, and I had no intention of charging anybody. I was just so excited. I was like, "You've got to do this," you know. And like, I did a degree in biophotonics 2 years ago after reading about the BioWell device that Joe Dispenza uses and references for reading your fingers and stuff. So I did a degree in that, and then I started doing all these BioWell readings. No intention of ever charging anybody, just to say, look, your chakras are real. Look at your biofield. Oh, look, you've got a problem around your liver. Look, you know, and doesn't seem right to ask for money in return for these things. That's the really, 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 really weird thing. It's like I really enjoy doing it. I need to sustain myself. Well, that's not a problem at the moment, but yeah, it's like I don't even think that comes into it yet. I mean, I've not charged for a soul contract reading yet, and I've done about like 40. Just so
Those
excited.
are the threes that are having difficulty charging.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right then.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a whole other conversation, let me tell you. But, you know, again, I think it's just sort of, you know, I think we can get really caught up in that. And I speak from my own experience of like, I tend to have the vision of myself at step 10. And so then I'm like, but what is step 1? I'm not seeing what step 1 is. And that's honestly sometimes the hardest part to figure out. And what I'm learning is like, just, well, what can you do today? Like, what are you able to do in this moment? You know, that's step 10 feels really impossible. So when like, walk it back until you're like, okay, I could do that. There's nothing standing in my way. And that's your step 1.
Yeah, that makes sense. And definitely, I really need to learn my own numbers better than I do, because the difficulty charging thing, you know, I'd probably have no problem saying that to somebody else, but thinking about applying it to myself, I never would have dreamed of saying that.
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
You know, it's
Yeah.
interesting because 2 years ago, when I was still in my 3D business, I had a reading by somebody who I just love. She's fantastic. And she was flipping some cards and she got the card for me for like my direction. She goes, lost compass. And I was like, that is the shittiest card to get, like lost compass. And she's like, you know, as she got into it, she's like, you know, you're not even sure of your direction. Now I understand that's my 5s. Now I understand. Right. And then it was not even, I think it was less than 2 months later is when I started waking up going, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. Something else is coming. I need to get out of this 3D thing and get more into 5D, more into spiritual related kind of stuff. And that's when it showed up for, but I had no idea, 0 idea that I would be here today with you two talking about soul contracts and it being like infused in every aspect of my life. And then earlier you spoke about the fact that like, you know, you have your own shit too. We all do. I think it's easy to forget that because we're providing this soul contract service. I think it's easy for people to think that we just have it all worked out for ourselves. Well, we know our charts so well and we don't. Listen, recently, my father surprised me. He came in from Greece. He hasn't been to the country in 40 years. I have never, to my memory, had know what it's like to have my father with me, physically with me all the time. So he showed up last week. My brother brought him in. It was a huge surprise. And all I kept thinking was, oh my God, my inner child in this father wound. And I love him. We have a great relationship. I was so excited. And then what happened was a few days ago, and nothing happened between him and I. The dynamics have been great. We're having a wonderful time, but this abandonment got triggered. And I've never, because I was so young when my parents split up, I never really felt that true abandonment, but it's that 10-1, right? Father wound abandonment. Okay. And it took me down. The last 2 days, I didn't talk to anybody. I didn't respond to anybody. I needed to be in my own bubble because I could not get out of this abandonment feeling, something that I thought was not an issue for me, but it was showing up so strong. And it was all I could think and eat and drink and be in. I couldn't escape it. So it was even in that moment where I was like, I never thought I'd get back to that point again, where you have something that's so crippling when you're over here and you're trying to like share your life with people about how you've overcome things and how you've learned. But now here I am having that same difficulty. And I just had to like regroup and have a moment where everybody has this stuff. No one is different than anyone. No one's exempt from the lessons and the hurt and the challenges. And you just gotta break through it. And then, today was a good day for me. I feel like I'm finally over it. But it's hard. It is. You think that, or you and other people think that you shouldn't be going through all that. Well, you're spiritually awakened. Why do you still struggle? Oh, because I'm human. And that happens to all of us forever.
Oh, I just see somebody talking on TikTok the other day, and in the comments, they someone put, "Well, you're not really healed, then, are you?" If this person was like really like pouring out a similar kind of thing that you've just said, and I read this comment and I thought, "Oh God, that doesn't help."
We're never done healing. Yeah.
But no, I mean, I'm sorry to hear that you had this trigger come up, but like, at least you knew what it was. I've been sat for 7 months feeling the same, and I don't know what it is. So I don't even know what it is to heal. I think it's kind of an abandonment wound, but I don't know from where, from whom. Yeah, it's. And so I know
it's time
that
for
place.
divine healing session, Kieth, because then you'll just see, you'll peel the layers back. You'll find out.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm probably down for that. I'm in the middle of some light body work, surgery work with
nice.
somebody at the moment. With Amanda.
All of us.
We all are. All three of us.
We're all doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Like you feel stuff. You feel stuff. Like
what session are you up to?
I've just finished Nephilim removal.
Yeah.
I literally did that one yesterday. Not even kidding.
Yeah. But like I go to a healer here, a guy called Ramon Boquera, and he does certain stuff, and it's just it's relaxing. But this that I'm doing with Amanda, it's fucking insane. Like I'm feeling stuff like magnetically like pulling on me, and I'm like, that's weird. I had a flash where I ended up in the back of a van, and I went, oh, that was weird. I said, did I fall asleep? She went, no. I was like, oh. And she went, what happened? I was like, it's going to sound really strange, but it was like I was being put in a van in my car park just behind the house I'm at. And she was like, was it a bit like Men in Black? I went, yeah, it was a bit. She went, yeah, that's normal. I said, what? Normal? There was nothing normal about that at all. Yeah, really interesting. Yeah. It's got me pretty hooked, to be honest.
We love Amanda. That's who I'm doing my light body with too, but we had her on for that 5-5 frequency. Okay. She is just magical within herself. I mean, everything about her is just amazing. But it's funny, when I had my Nephilim removed, I had these electric shocks throughout my body. And I was like jerking. I'm like, what is happening? And she's like, it's the process and stuff. But yeah, it's wild how things happen when I'm like, I don't know what I expect. I know I'm supposed to be doing this thing, so I'm going to do it. And then all of a sudden you actually have physical reactions. Your mind travels. It's wild.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still quite cynical with a lot of this stuff, despite the fact that I know I'm the universe. That I know. I don't quite know how the hell I ended up in this thing. So that's a big leap. But I'm still very cynical when it comes to stuff like this. And from the second I met Amanda, for a start, she seemed so familiar. And every single session, I'm like, I felt that. She went, yeah. Like, no. I actually felt that. Because I've spoken to I wouldn't say bullshitters, but so many people that are overly confident in their abilities, nothing really happens. Whereas what you just said about the electric shock thing, I had it with like a magnetic pulling feeling, and it was definitely there. It was definitely there. Yeah, so that's so once
But
that's done, divine
it's
healing maybe
really,
is the way to go.
it's so fitting that we've like brought up the light body because, and even this comment that you just made, Keith, like, what am I doing here? Like, essentially in your body. Well, it's like our bodies are spirit manifesting in physical form, right? This is physical form. We are spiritual beings having a like human experience. And part of light body integration is that you can take in more light into your physical form. So it's actually very fitting, and maybe where we can wrap up with our 19-1 conversation of like, this is how spirit manifests. Like, this is the 19-1. Because I was kind of thinking that. I always think about that with this number. Like, what does that mean for spirit to manifest? Like, what does that mean? And I think this is kind of a good way of one example. It's like, well, your human body is spirit manifesting in physical form. That's one way.
Yes, that's beautiful.
Yeah, I agree.
Any
Keith,
final thoughts?
Keith, you want to go first?
No. Please, ladies first.
Well, I guess
I've
the only
spoken enough.
Thank you, such a gentleman. The only thing I think we haven't really touched upon with this frequency is the writing aspect. They're great writers. And I think, Keith, did you mention earlier that you were writing something?
I am.
Oh, well, listen, that's
Yeah.
also your 14-5. That's your 5. That's your 3. That's your 19. Okay. You have it everywhere. Are you writing something of spiritual nature?
Yeah. It's about healing from the special kind of abuse that I have been exposed to lately. In a kind of like the government does, like a problem reaction solution kind of format. So like kind of like laying out what might be happening to somebody, and then the reaction that happens physically and spiritually within the body, and then the kind of solution. So obviously by the time I get to the solution part, which will be kind of the last 150 pages, because I'm aiming kind of like 350, 400 pages, from about 100 pages in. I am using ChatGPT to help me out. It's so cool. It's so cool. You know, you can just write a little bit about your story, and this means that, and then it just chucks in loads of stuff. It's very good. But no, I'm incorporating a lot of the stuff, like the sessions with Amanda. You know, lots of other things that I'm trying, and things that I have tried that haven't worked. And yeah, I mean, the whole thing is just kind of. It's the whole package of like, right, okay, you get to start again. You're gonna probably make a lot of mistakes, like I did. And you know, here's what I tried. Here's what worked. Stay away from the ice cream. Stay away from the ice cream. Like, that's the hardest one. It really is. You know, I've gained so much weight since. I mean, like, I was like literally the skinny lollipop just before Christmas. Like, my face looked like it was eating away because I was so skinny. And every day I look in the mirror thinking, where's that coming from? That's creeping back. And
the
it's
ice
like
cream.
maybe something to do with the 2 tubs of Haagen-Dazs I have every day, just like chasing dopamine. So yeah, you know, and I'm just trying to really like get what's happened in my life and happening right now in my life onto trying to transmute it to some good, you know. Yeah. And even if I don't ever publish it, you know, I just want it out of me, you know. It's just get the fuck out of me, please. I don't want this in me anymore. And funnily enough, I most of my career I did a lot of writing, did a lot of copywriting for marketing campaigns and stuff like that. So I wouldn't say I was well read. You know, I certainly used to, you know, always putting across my point in the written word. So again, you know, it's feeling worthy enough to have a story to share that will, you know, help somebody else is kind of the end goal, I think. Yeah.
It's a beautiful soul-driven example of this 19-1 frequency. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Any other thoughts, you guys? We're good? We're tapped in? Okay, listen, Keith, it was an absolute pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for bringing the laughter, and your story is fascinating and so intriguing, and we appreciate you. Why don't you let our listeners know where they can find you?
So we should be able to find me on most social media, K33FVV, or my website at kiethwareing.com.
Beautiful.
Wonderful. Well, thank you everybody for listening today. Head over to Instagram. Let us know what you've thought about this episode. Let's Talk Vibes podcast, or get a copy of your chart if you haven't already. I'm assuming by now you probably have, at the ltvpodcast.com.
And as always, everybody, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment on our content. It is the best way to support us, and we appreciate it so much. Have a beautiful, blessed day. Bye.